Welcome back, guys. Today we're gonna hop into lat training, starting with exercise selection, getting into execution a little bit, and then me kind of giving a shotgun remedy or kind of an approach I like to take for somebody who's really having a hard time feeling their lats. The first thing I like to look at is gonna be general exercise selection, and not because these exercises are bad, but they may not be the best for us actually driving sensation to the lat. So first, let's not confuse sensation for stimulation. Those could be two separate things. For example, I could just sit here and I could squeeze my lats. I'm gonna get a great sensation, but I'm not stimulating them to grow. Let's understand we can get tension through the lats in an exercise like a barbell row or a pull-up and maybe not feel the most sensation, right? So we're still getting stimulation, not as much sensation. I could do a single arm cable pullover and really just hold the short position with very little load. I'm gonna get massive sensation, but probably very little stimulation in terms of mechanical tension. So keep those things in mind. Looking at exercise selection, if I'm doing, again, an exercise like a barbell row or a pull-up, I have a lot of other prime movers that are assisting me in the movement. So think, obviously lats, but traps, rhomboids, rear delts, biceps. There's a lot going into the movement. So there's more contributing where I may not feel my lats very well. For barbell rows, for pull-ups, these are also gonna be exercises that are gonna be higher in skill demand. So they're harder to execute well, and also have a greater degree of demand for internal stability, right? When I'm hinging over with a barbell, I have to really create internal stability. I have to brace my core, control my pelvis in space, make sure I'm maintaining that while I move through relative shoulder flexion, extension, retraction, protraction, etc. There's a lot going on, right? For a pull-up, I have to really express shoulder function as I get all the way overhead, and also just control my body in space. And if you're a larger individual, over 220 pounds, there's a lot going on there, right? So I think these are great general back exercises. These are things that I include in programs, but if my goal is to really get sensation on my lats, connect to my lats, or even bias my lats, I'm probably not gonna choose those things, which will kind of get us into the next thing, which is technical leaks, but also just like looking at general execution. So if I'd like to execute to really bias my lats and get a strong sensation to my lats, I'm probably gonna do more through this sagittal plane, think front to back, shoulder flexion, shoulder extension. I don't really care if we're at 90 degrees shoulder flexion. I don't care if we're kind of overhead, but generally in this arc, that's where I'm gonna get the most amount of tension through my lats and probably get the most amount of bias towards my lats. So when I get in this more neutral plane arm path, probably gonna get a lot less trap, a lot less rhomboid, a lot more lat. Obviously biceps gonna be working too, rear delts gonna be working as well, but we're gonna be getting the most lat kind of in this front to back plane and probably gonna have the strongest leverages for our lat. So first and foremost, making sure that we're getting into this sagittal plane, that's number one. And also making sure grip, I would say, is kind of a secondary thing to look at there, where if I'm actively pronating and supinating, or I'm just not maintaining this neutral grip, I'm probably gonna be getting this arm path wider. So if I'm pronating as I go up and go down, I'm probably getting this arm path wider. It's also gonna be hard for me to truly access the overhead position in this more neutral arm path with a pronated grip. I would rather keep neutral to semi-supination just to make sure I'm maintaining external rotation as I get overhead. Getting to the next part as we get overhead, a secondary factor, really one of the main mistakes I think a lot of people make in their lat training is an inability to keep control of a neutral rib cage. So as we go through shoulder flexion, we get a lot of flare through the rib cage. And if we look at muscles like the pecs, muscles like the lats, they kind of span and wrap around the rib cage. Now, obviously the pecs will attach to the sternum, but the lats are gonna wrap around and they're going to insert through the thoracolumbar fascia. So whether you look at the lumbar, whether you look at even like the ilium, top of our hips, there's gonna be several connections between this muscle that will span across the rib cage, attached to the pelvis. So our relative positioning of the rib cage to the pelvis is probably gonna be important. Just generally speaking, get to a neutral position at the rib cage and make sure we're not flaring. If we think about flaring the ribs as we get overhead, we're probably artificially shortening our lats and minimizing the amount of tension that we can get as we lengthen the lats to get overhead. So putting a bow on this, I mean, we could get really into the weeds with the things I've already mentioned so far in terms of just exercise selection and then also how we're gonna execute those things, looking at arm path, looking at the rib cage. But I generally in this video just want you to start to draw awareness to those things. So if I'm having a hard time feeling my lats, am I choosing exercises that are gonna fit in those categories? So getting more of a front to back, shoulder extension arm path. Am I keeping a neutral grip? Am I keeping a more neutral rib cage? We don't have to do all of those things to train our lats, but if my goal is to maximize tension and really make sure I'm driving sensation to my lats so I can feel it, which there is value to that from a proprioceptive standpoint. I want to feel the muscles that I'm working. Also just creating buy-in for ourselves, but also for clients. Like if you want a client to buy into what we're doing, like, hey, this trains your lats, and if I don't feel it, well, we should probably be feeling a muscle, at least some, if we are getting, a good amount of mechanical tension through the muscle. So to finish up, if I were to give a shotgun approach to how I'd want to start a session to feel my lats better, I would probably just start with an exercise in my warm-up that's going to address a fullest range of motion through the lat, and also get a bit more challenging in the shortened position so I can get a bit more muscle activation. I'm gonna get more sensation with higher EMG activity when I challenge the shortened position of a muscle. For the lats, I love doing a single arm cable pullover, maybe a bit more of a split stance too, just if we want to kind of get more of a full stretch if we're thinking getting the shoulder furthest away from that back hip. I'm going to do a single arm cable pullover. I'm going to challenge a neutral rib cage. I'm going to move through a full arc of shoulder flexion, shoulder extension. So I'm going to get full length-ish to my lats. And also I'm going to get more challenge in the short position. So I'm going to get more of this muscle activation or sensation. I think doing that on the front end of a session, one, will get us full range of motion, so we'll make sure we can actually work through a full range of motion of the muscle while maintaining things like proper grip, proper arm path, neutral rib cage position. Also, we're gonna get more of a challenge to the shortened range, so we're gonna get more sensation. So now we can make sure we are actually getting the prerequisite things that we need to challenge the muscle in actual exercises that we're gonna train with high stimulus. And also, we're gonna be able to carry this proprioceptive value, this sensation that we're feeling on that exercise, over to those exercises so we can execute better. So let me know if you have other things that you like to do. Drop it in the comments, things that you like, things that you don't like. Also, if you have further questions, further muscles you would like for me to do breakdowns similar to this, please let me know below. And I appreciate you guys for hanging around. Again, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.